Stop for a moment and consider a belief you were taught early and never questioned. That being good would keep you safe. That kindness acts like armor. That generosity builds loyalty. That honesty guarantees respect. These ideas sound comforting, but comfort is not truth. The most dangerous lie ever sold is that goodness protects you by default. In reality, unguarded goodness exposes you. It signals predictability. It tells the world you will not resist. It teaches others how far they can go with you. Many people confuse morality with safety and pay for it quietly. They wonder why their efforts collapse, why relationships drain them, why progress stalls. The answer is not that goodness failed them. It is that goodness was used without strategy. History shows this pattern repeatedly. Leaders who relied solely on mercy were removed by those who understood force. Generous figures were consumed by the expectations they created. The world does not reward intention, it responds to structure. When kindness lacks boundaries, it becomes permission. When generosity lacks limits, it becomes entitlement. When honesty lacks discretion, it becomes liability. This is not a call to cruelty. It is a call to awareness. You are not meant to abandon virtue. You are meant to command it. Goodness without protection behaves like fire. It spreads quickly and consumes resources without direction. Careers burn, relationships exhaust, dreams erode. You can watch this happen to people who are praised for being kind but never promoted, appreciated but never respected, relied on but never supported. They become useful, not powerful. Utility is not authority. People exploit what they can predict. When you never resist, resistance is no longer expected. Kindness makes you visible. Visibility invites testing. Those who sense no consequence push further. This is how good people become overwhelmed. They answer every call. They agree to every request. They compromise every time. Slowly, their role shifts. They are no longer valued for judgment. They are valued for availability. Availability destroys leverage. When something is always accessible, it loses worth. Scarcity creates respect. Predictability destroys it. Consider generosity. It feels noble. It feels rewarding. But repeated giving changes its meaning. The first gift surprises, the second is welcomed, the third becomes assumed. Soon, giving is no longer an act. It is an expectation. When you stop, even briefly, the narrative flips. Gratitude disappears. Resentment appears. The memory of your effort fades. Only the interruption is noticed. This is not malice. It is psychology. People adapt to benefits quickly. What once felt exceptional becomes normal. What becomes normal becomes invisible. The generous are rarely remembered for what they gave. They are remembered for the moment they withheld. This is the trap. Giving without control trains others to rely without respect. Over time, dependency replaces appreciation. When the supply slows, frustration emerges. You become blamed for disrupting a pattern you created. This is why unmeasured generosity often ends in bitterness. The giver feels used. The receiver feels deprived. Both feel wronged. Perception governs power more than reality. People respond to what they see, not what you intend. Appearing virtuous often carries more influence than being virtuous without control. This is uncomfortable but true. Public softness combined with private strength outperforms constant openness. Those who succeed understand timing. They know when to show mercy and when to enforce limits. They understand that appearing gentle does not require being weak. Virtue must be worn like armor, not exposed like skin. Strength hidden beneath civility commands more respect than goodness displayed without restraint. Many fail because they reverse this. They show weakness to adversaries and strength to allies. This invites attack and erodes loyalty. Control requires balance. Perception shapes interaction. If you are seen as weak, you will be treated as weak regardless of intent. Every action carries cost. Time spent helping others is time not invested in yourself. Energy given away is energy not recovered. Resources are finite, whether acknowledged or not. Ignoring this reality leads to exhaustion. Exhausted people cannot protect themselves or others. They become liabilities instead of assets. Sustainability matters more than sacrifice. If you drain yourself entirely, you eventually contribute nothing. This is not selfishness. It is structure. Even survival systems understand priority. If you collapse, your ability to help collapses with you. Endless yeses produce delayed nos in more destructive forms. Resentment grows. Focus dissolves. Purpose fragments. Many well-intentioned people fail not because they lacked heart, but because they lacked discipline. True generosity is selective. True kindness is deliberate. Virtue without aim wastes itself. When goodness is applied intentionally, it gains power. When it is scattered impulsively, it loses meaning. Control does not corrupt goodness. It preserves it. The ability to say no determines the value of yes. Without refusal, consent is meaningless. Strategic goodness does not seek approval. It seeks outcome. It protects resources so they can be deployed where impact matters. It understands that helping everyone a little helps no one meaningfully. Focus creates force. Selectivity creates respect. When help is rare, it is valued. When kindness is measured, it is remembered. Goodness is not fragile. Misuse makes it fragile. When guided by awareness, it becomes strength. When guarded by boundaries, it becomes authority. The mistake was never being good. The mistake was believing goodness alone was enough. Generosity feels righteous because it triggers approval. Applause follows sacrifice, at least in the beginning. People praise your selflessness, your reliability, your willingness to give without hesitation. That praise becomes addictive. It convinces you that generosity equals value. But approval is temporary, and dependency grows faster than gratitude. What begins as appreciation slowly transforms into expectation. Once expectation forms, generosity loses its meaning. It is no longer a gift. It becomes an obligation imposed on you by others. This is the generosity trap. When you give occasionally, people feel fortunate. When you give repeatedly, they feel entitled. Your exceptional behavior becomes the standard by which you are judged. The moment you break that pattern, even for valid reasons, disappointment replaces gratitude. The history of your giving is erased by the present absence. People remember the disruption, not the consistency that preceded it. This is not cruelty. It is adaptation. Human perception recalibrates quickly. Think of how reliability is punished. The person who always stays late becomes the one expected to stay late. The friend who always pays becomes the one who should pay. The helper becomes the solution everyone assumes will appear. Over time, respect erodes. What was once admired becomes invisible. What is invisible becomes undervalued. And when undervalued, it becomes exploited. Uncontrolled generosity creates a dangerous imbalance. You give more while receiving less. Energy flows outward without replenishment. Resentment begins quietly. You feel used but say nothing because silence has become part of your identity. This silence does not protect you. It teaches others that the cost of overstepping is low. When boundaries never appear, people assume none exist. Power requires limits. Without them, kindness collapses into weakness. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming intentional. Strategic generosity understands rhythm. It is given in intervals, not floods. Scarcity maintains value. When help is not guaranteed, it is respected. When assistance must be earned, it is appreciated. Public virtue and private strength must coexist. Society responds more to appearance than essence. People rarely see your internal struggle or intent. They see behavior and draw conclusions. This is why control of image matters. Appearing benevolent while maintaining firmness beneath the surface creates stability. Those who expose their softness without structure invite pressure. Those who combine warmth with limits create balance. There is a difference between being liked and being respected. Liked individuals are comfortable to use. Respected individuals are approached with caution. Respect requires the possibility of refusal. If no consequence exists, influence disappears. This is why strategic goodness includes the ability to disappoint. Saying no protects the value of yes. Without contrast, generosity loses shape. Every act carries an economic cost. Time spent resolving others' problems subtracts from your own development. Energy poured outward cannot be recovered. Resources are finite, whether acknowledged or ignored. People who give endlessly often find themselves depleted, frustrated, and stalled. Exhaustion follows overextension. Exhaustion breeds bitterness. Bitterness corrodes purpose. Protecting your resources is not selfish. It is foundational. Strength enables contribution. Weakness creates dependency. Those who collapse under the weight of constant giving eventually become burdens themselves. Sustainability determines impact. You cannot lift others if you cannot stand. Strategic goodness prioritizes alignment. Not every request deserves compliance. Not every cause deserves sacrifice. When you evaluate before committing, your contributions gain force. Focus magnifies effect. Helping the right few deeply outperforms helping everyone superficially. Precision replaces scatter. Meaning replaces noise. Gratitude fades faster than memory admits. People adapt quickly to advantages. What once impressed becomes expected. The illusion is believing gratitude accumulates. It does not. It resets constantly. The person you helped yesterday judges you by what you do today. Past kindness rarely protects against present refusal. This is why boundaries matter. They prevent false narratives from forming. People often appreciate those who help them least but meaningfully. Scarcity enhances recognition. Constant presence erodes it. This is why strategic absence strengthens value. When you are not always available, your availability matters. When help is conditional, it is weighed. When generosity requires discernment, it commands respect. Intentions are invisible, outcomes are not. Society judges results, not motives. You may mean well endlessly, but if your actions do not produce strength, progress, or change, your goodness becomes ornamental. Nice behavior comforts briefly. Effective behavior alters reality. Lasting impact often requires discomfort. True goodness sometimes looks harsh. Discipline feels unkind in the moment. Boundaries feel unfriendly to those who benefited from their absence. But results reveal purpose. A parent who enforces limits protects future stability. A leader who demands excellence creates long-term success. Appearing kind is easy. Being effective is harder. Legacy is built on survival and consequence. Those remembered are not those who pleased everyone. They are those who endured pressure, made difficult decisions, and produced change. Goodness without strength disappears quietly. Strength without goodness becomes destructive. The union of both creates authority. Strategic goodness preserves itself. It refuses exploitation. It values sustainability over approval. It understands that respect outlives affection. When kindness is governed by awareness, it becomes powerful. When it is left unguarded, it is consumed. The question is no longer whether goodness matters. It does. The question is whether you will command it or be consumed by it. The illusion of gratitude is one of the most misunderstood forces in human behavior. People assume that the more good they do, the more appreciation they will receive. This belief feels logical, but reality moves differently. Gratitude is not cumulative. It decays. What you did last month barely survives in memory if you fail to repeat it today. Repetition does not strengthen appreciation. It weakens it. What was once perceived as generosity becomes perceived as duty. This is how good people get trapped. They believe consistency will secure loyalty, yet consistency without limits rewires expectation. Once expectation forms, gratitude disappears. People stop seeing effort and start seeing entitlement. They no longer ask if you can help. They assume you will. Your kindness becomes a background utility like electricity. Useful, invisible, and only noticed when it stops. When you finally set a boundary, the reaction is rarely understanding. Instead, you are framed as changed, selfish, or unreliable. The history of your giving is erased by the present refusal. This is not because people are cruel. It is because people judge reality through what is immediate. Memory bends toward convenience. The mind preserves benefit, not sacrifice. The more available you make yourself, the less special your availability becomes. The more predictable your goodness, the easier it is to exploit. Predictability invites pressure. Pressure creates imbalance. Imbalance breeds resentment on both sides. You feel drained. Others feel deprived when access is reduced. This dynamic destroys relationships quietly, without confrontation, until frustration replaces goodwill entirely. Understanding this pattern does not require cynicism. It requires realism. Humans adapt to benefits quickly. What once felt like a privilege becomes normal. What becomes normal becomes invisible. This is why strategic withdrawal is not cruelty. It is correction. Allowing others to experience absence restores value. Scarcity sharpens perception. When you are not always there, presence gains weight. Another dangerous belief is that good intentions matter more than results. They do not. The world does not live inside your heart. It lives with the consequences of your actions. You may intend to help, but if the result is dependency, weakness, or stagnation, your intention becomes irrelevant. Reality remembers outcomes, not motives. Nice behavior avoids discomfort. Effective behavior confronts it. Nice people prioritize harmony. Effective people prioritize progress. Nice people fear conflict. Effective people resolve it. The difference is not morality, it is courage. Being nice is emotionally safer. Being effective requires resilience. True goodness often creates tension before improvement. Discipline feels harsh to those accustomed to leniency. Boundaries feel unfair to those who benefited from excess access. Standards feel oppressive to those who relied on exceptions. But over time, results reveal wisdom. Stability replaces chaos. Growth replaces stagnation. Respect replaces entitlement. When goodness is measured by outcomes, behavior changes. You stop asking whether people will like you and start asking whether actions will improve reality. This shift is uncomfortable because it removes immediate validation. Approval fades, resistance appears, but long-term impact grows. The people who benefit most from effective goodness may resist it first. Understanding this prevents retreat. Power lies in the ability to tolerate temporary disapproval for lasting benefit. Those who cannot withstand short-term discomfort sacrifice long-term influence. Those who can accept tension shape environments. They are misunderstood early and respected later. Legacy is not built on agreeableness. It is built on endurance. History remembers those who survived pressure long enough to change systems. Those who were pleasant but fragile vanish quietly. Those who combined strength with intention altered outcomes. Survival precedes generosity. You cannot give what you no longer possess. You cannot protect others if you are constantly exposed. Strength creates the option to be kind. Weakness removes choice. This is why self-preservation is not selfish. It is strategic. Protecting yourself preserves your ability to contribute meaningfully. Building boundaries preserves energy. Guarding resources preserves impact. This allows generosity to be deployed where it matters most instead of scattered until it dissolves. Those who create lasting good understand timing. They do not react impulsively. They evaluate, conserve, and then act decisively. Their kindness is not constant, it is precise. Their mercy is not automatic, it is earned. Their honesty is not reckless, it is measured. The world responds differently to those who combine compassion with firmness. Exploiters retreat, opportunists hesitate, allies stabilize, relationships become clearer, roles solidify, chaos decreases. Strategic goodness does not require abandoning empathy. It requires governing it. Emotion becomes a guide, not a ruler. Compassion informs action without controlling it. This balance prevents burnout and preserves clarity. When you master this, something shifts internally. Guilt fades. Resentment dissolves. Decisions feel cleaner. You no longer give to be approved. You give because it aligns. You no longer fear refusal. You understand its necessity. People who depend on exploitation will call this coldness. Those who respect structure will call it leadership. The difference lies in perspective, not truth. Goodness does not weaken when it is disciplined. It becomes formidable. It stops being consumed and starts shaping reality. Legacy is not built by intention alone. It is built by survival, continuity, and consequence. History does not pause to honor those who meant well but collapsed under pressure. It remembers those who endured long enough to shape outcomes. This is where strategic goodness reveals its final purpose. Not to make you admired, but to make you effective. Not to win affection, but to leave something standing after you are gone. Most people misunderstand legacy. They believe it is created by being agreeable, generous, and pleasant to everyone. In truth, that path leads to obscurity. The individuals who changed the world were rarely universally liked. They were respected, feared, resisted, and challenged. What preserved their impact was not softness, but resolve. They combined conviction with restraint. They accepted being misunderstood in the present to be remembered in the future. Survival is the foundation of contribution. Without it, virtue has no reach. The kindest people cannot help if they are crushed by those who exploit them. The most honest voices cannot speak if they are silenced by pressure. The most generous hands cannot give if they are emptied too soon. Strength creates duration. Duration creates influence. Influence creates legacy. This is why boundaries are not selfish. They are structural. They protect the source of your goodness so it does not evaporate. When you defend your energy, time, and focus, you preserve your capacity to act when action matters. Weakness feels noble in the moment but erodes possibility. Strength feels uncomfortable at first but multiplies impact. Being strategically good means understanding when to resist. It means recognizing that not every request deserves a response. Not every conflict deserves engagement. Not every criticism deserves explanation. Selectivity sharpens presence. When you act rarely but decisively, your actions carry weight. When you speak sparingly but clearly, your words endure. Respect outlasts affection. Popularity fades quickly. Approval shifts with mood. Respect remains anchored in consistency. People may not always like your decisions, but they remember your firmness. They adjust their behavior around it. Over time, this creates stability. Stability attracts trust. Trust attracts responsibility. There is a false belief that strength and goodness are opposites. They are not. Strength without goodness becomes destructive. Goodness without strength becomes consumable. The union of both creates leadership. Leadership is not control over others. It is control over direction. It is the ability to move systems rather than be moved by them. This requires the willingness to disappoint. Every meaningful boundary disappoints someone. Every necessary refusal creates friction. Those who avoid this discomfort trade their future for short-term peace. Those who endure it gain clarity. They understand that discomfort is temporary. Consequences are lasting. Strategic goodness is not about domination. It is about stewardship. You manage your virtue so it does not become a liability. You deploy it where it creates change rather than noise. You conserve it so it remains potent. This discipline allows you to help effectively rather than endlessly. The world does not need more agreeable people who collapse under pressure. It needs individuals who can withstand resistance and still choose goodness intentionally. That choice only exists when strength is present. Without strength, goodness is not chosen. It is imposed by fear. Those who master this balance move differently. They are calm under pressure. They do not rush to justify themselves. They do not over-explain their decisions. They allow results to speak. Over time, opposition weakens, patterns stabilize, influence consolidates. This path requires maturity. It demands letting go of the need to be seen as kind by everyone. It requires accepting that some will misunderstand you permanently. That cost is unavoidable. Trying to eliminate it destroys clarity. Accepting it preserves direction. In the end, people remember what you built, not how pleasant you were while building it. They remember the systems that endured, the standards that held, the outcomes that lasted. Your intentions vanish with time. Your impact remains. Strategic goodness ensures that impact is positive rather than accidental. It allows you to protect yourself so you can protect others. It allows you to grow strong so you can lift responsibly. It allows you to say no without guilt and yes without resentment. The choice is simple, though not easy. You can allow goodness to weaken you until nothing remains, or you can discipline it until it becomes power. One leads to exhaustion, the other leads to legacy. Strength gives you the freedom to be good when it matters most. Without strength, goodness becomes a trap. With strength, it becomes a force. That is the difference between being consumed by the world and shaping it.